Why? Like, why exactly? Why? Be more constructive with your feedback, please. Why?
All right, so today we're going to talk about using Google Forms for feedback. We're also going to talk about Flubaroo, which is an add-on to Google Sheets, which are connected to Google Forms. So to make a Google form in Drive, you're just going to click on New, and underneath the typical Docs, Sheets, and Slides, click on More, and Google Forms has the purple icon. This is the new Google Forms. The layout is different, and some of the buttons and add-ons are over here at the top, as opposed to the old Google form, which you can get to. This little running man in the bottom left-hand corner will take you back to the old Google Forms, which has a more typical kind of Google Docs feel with the toolbar up at the top. But you can do a lot of the same things, so we're actually going to try the new Google Forms and just do it there. You would do all the normal things like title your form. It will automatically change the title here, or you can change that up. There are lots of different types of questions for Google Forms. So here's just kind of the list. The short answer is just that. It's kind of a one line or just a word or two, whereas the paragraph offers more space. Multiple choice checkboxes for select all that apply, a drop-down menu. There's also like a Likert scale, so you can define what the values are. The multiple choice grid, which allows you to choose one choice per column or row, and then the date and the time options. So you can play with a couple of them. One of the fun ones is this drop-down menu, which on the different choices, you can actually, these little three dots will give you more options, and you can have as the students or whoever is doing the form, they can go to a section based on the answer. So I'll show you an example of that in a little bit. The buttons here, this duplicates the question, this deletes it. You can toggle whether it's required or not. As far as the look, you can choose a different color palette. You can also, with this picture, it'll ask you to upload your own image, and then it automatically configures the color palette based on that. So you can choose from any of these, or you can upload a photo down over here. So I might choose a fun one, like those colored pencils. And you might see that the background here changed to match that. On the Google form, here's where you can add a question. You can add the title or the description, and again, add an image to the question itself. So you can show an image and then ask a question about it. Same thing with the video. You can add a video from YouTube and then ask a question about it. This will add a new section. So each section, you can think of it as a different page. And then up at the top, there's a couple of different options. The little eye will allow you to preview what the form will look like to the people that you send it to or give the link to. On the settings, one important thing is this who can respond. I almost always choose anyone. The anyone in Sanger Unified will require students or staff to sign into their @sangerusd.net account. So I almost always choose anyone just for ease of use. The benefit of doing the anyone in Sanger Unified is that you can collect the respondent's username or their email address, or for the students, their ID number. This will tell them that it's doing it. It's not like secretive or suspicious at all, but it'll tell them it's collecting it. But the benefit of this is also that you can require or allow them to only submit one response. But again, I almost always just do anyone. From there, you can change the little confirmation page that shows up. Sometimes I like to even put a link here so they could go to a different link based on the completion of the form. It'll also allow them to edit their response, or any of these you can toggle on and off. So I'm just going to click Save. One big difference from Google Forms is they are collaborative, but you don't share them. Instead, what you do is add collaborators. The window will pop up and it looks really similar, but when you add a collaborator, that is the equivalent of sharing a Google form. The thing with Google Forms is we have the edit, which is here. This is the Google Forms editor. We have the live view or the preview, which is what the people who are taking the form will see. And lastly, I'm just going to take one just to show you. Lastly, we have the responses, which are automatically populated in a spreadsheet. So you can, on the new Google Forms, just see a summary of the responses or even the individual responses. I'll show what that looks like in a second. But you can also click here and it'll take you to a spreadsheet. For this, I'm going to show you with a quiz that's already a little bit more put together. As an example, that drop-down choice, I made a second section that told the correct response. So for the incorrect responses, when they take it, if they choose an incorrect response, it'll take them to this page and then it'll ask them to submit. Whereas if they choose the correct form, it'll just automatically submit the form. So that's one of the different things you can kind of play around with. But with the responses, I have the summary of responses and then I have the individual responses. This is 37, so I would go through and be able to see. This is kind of nice, but a better way of seeing it is this spreadsheet. So if you click the little green grid, the icon for sheets, it'll then take you to the spreadsheet. And this is a much better way of seeing it. It automatically timestamps it. Whatever you have here up at the top on row 1 will be the questions. If you're doing this for a quiz or collecting formative feedback from your students, I always suggest one of the questions being name or period or ID number, something, an identifier. And then from there. So the cool thing I want to show you is Flubaroo, which is an add-on. So from add-on, you would click, if you don't have it already in this list, which you won't unless you've gotten it already, you would click Get Add-on. In the add-ons, you can search. So this is Flubaroo. It says that it's little green check mark means that I already have it. If it didn't, it would have a blue button that says Add to Chrome. So I would click that and then it would kind of walk me through those steps. But because I have it, I can now say Add-on and then Flubaroo. And what I'm going to use Flubaroo to do is grade this assignment. So when I grade the assignment, there's 2 things I have to do beforehand. The first is I have to actually take the test or the quiz as an answer key. So I might even just do this, say answer key, do all the answers, and then click submit. I've already done that. So you can see here this first row, I selected all the correct answers. And then the other thing is I have to actually have had this downloaded. You can do it after the fact, but you can't use it until you have it. So grade assignment. Once you click grade assignment, a window is going to pop up that'll show that it's working. It might ask you some questions regarding what columns you want graded. So for example, in column B, it's just the name. I don't need that graded. So that would show that it's just identifying the students. And again, it's just working away here. All right, so here's the Flubaroo grading step 1. And again, it tries to do the work for you. So in column 1, for example, it says that, yeah, it's identifying the student. And then the normal grading, I have all the others. There's also options where you can grade by hand. That's a new feature. You can also just skip the grading if it was an extra credit or just an explanation and you don't want to deal with the grading, you can skip it. The grading by hand will just not grade it, and then it allows you to grade it after the fact. I'm just going to leave the normal grading. I can hit continue. It's then going to ask me what row is the answer key, if you will. So it's this first one. I always like to do it right after it. Otherwise, I have to scroll through all these submissions to see. So it's the answer key. I'll hit continue, and it grades. So once it grades, it creates a new tab down at the bottom. And after it grades all of the points, it'll give me a class summary as well as color code for the students. So it tells me that the grading is complete. It always tells me a little tip. I'm just going to close that out. So it says out of 10 points possible, my average was 9. So my class of 35 did pretty well. There was one low scoring question, and we can see that it's this last one. And it was just a 1 point or no points, but it was that last question, which of the following elements is shown. It gives me a percentage. It also color codes any students who fall below a certain percent. And then it gives me a average for those scores. So that is Flubaroo. And again, it just adds on to the form on the responses, the spreadsheet. When I click that, it took me here. This is the student submissions or the form responses, and then it's an add-on. I clicked Flubaroo. You can, in the advance, kind of deal with some of those, like how it highlights, it determines what percentage. So percentage below which student is highlighted in red, I can change that percentage. And it also will do things like extra credit and then emailing grades, which we don't have Gmail turned on for this, so that doesn't really matter so much. But there you go. That is Flubaroo and Google Forms.